How are you, Wayne? Missed us?
It's been a long few days, to be honest.
Yeah. Maybe we just start with perhaps one of the headlines. 19-year-old lock from Exeter, Christopher Shinwa. What made you think that he's ready now for international rugby?
Well, in the selection, we're looking at the here and now, obviously, but we're also looking at the Rugby World Cup 2023. And we think in Chris, we've got a young man who is a great athlete. He's got a good skill set on him. He obviously lacks game time at senior rugby. He's in a good place in Exeter in terms of working under Rob Baxter and what's going on there. So really, it's a discussion I had with Chris post the under-20 Six Nations, where we've been monitoring him, obviously. He's one that just as a six, we believe, going forward, that can cover second row. That's the first point I'd make. He brings something that nobody else in the country probably has in terms of his height, athleticism. So really, it's getting him now involved at an early stage for his development. Whether he'll play rugby in this series, time will tell, but certainly we want to get him in, get him around the senior players and get him used to the environment.
Another English-based player, Thomas Young, obviously he's back in your thoughts. You've obviously got the go-ahead to select him now that he's joining Cardiff next season. You've got to go ahead to select him ahead of this. I mean, obviously you've got a few issues at open side, but was this something you were looking to do anyway?
No, well, it's something that has definitely been forced upon us. Under the 60-cap rule, we knew that we couldn't select Thomas. We've had, I think, 6 open-side flankers go down with injury, being ruled out. So I think on the weekend just gone, we went to watch Josh Navidi. He went down on the Saturday night. Then we're at the Scarlets game on a Sunday. Another 7, Dan Davis, went down injured. So it's just been a perfect storm in that position, really. Thomas has form under his belt, playing in a strong league. He's played for Wales before. He's played international rugby, 29 years of age. He's got the maturity. And when you look at the opposition, we felt that it was special circumstances for this particular competition. So we've asked for the ability to select them. And I'm very happy to say that common sense has prevailed on this occasion.
I mean, you've tried it that way before successfully, and with Rhys Webb and possibly not with Rhys Priestland. You're happy that the right decision has been made on this occasion. Yeah,
I mean, we've asked on 3 occasions, as you rightly point out, and on each occasion, we've felt that it's been necessary to assist the team to get the performances that we're after, and this is no different.
People would love to see Ellis Jenkins and Gareth Anscombe back in the squad after their long injuries. It's great, isn't it, that they're back after being 2 years out and you've been able to name them, Wayne?
Yeah, and if you look at the case of the standoff position and the 7 position we just talked about, both players, by their own admissions, are probably not back to 100% where they'd like to be, probably more around the 80% mark. But when you look at the experience that they have, the ability to play at this level previously and the job they've done at this level, I think that's counted for a lot in terms of the discussions. We've had lengthy discussions on both those players, spoke to both the players before naming them, also their club coaches. So, there's been a bit of input from outside people as well, and just to make sure that we're not putting them out there when they're at risk. Obviously, we're going into a higher level of rugby from that they've been playing in recent weeks. But they'll be monitored accordingly, and it's not our intention to play those players throughout the whole campaign.
And Gareth's obviously played 4 games for the Ospreys. Ellis has a bit more. So was there a bit more discussion around Gareth?
Well, you really got to look at it. And unfortunately, Jared Evans has taken a knock after about 10 minutes of rugby in the season. So he hasn't played. We look at summer form. We look at Six Nations, previous form at international level with Gareth. And we look at, what they're doing on the here and now. And so, our options at 10, a bit like 7, were depleted. So we've called on the experience that Gareth brings along with Rhys Priestland.
And you mentioned Rhys there. He hasn't played for 4 years. Nice to see him back in the fold after he's come back for Cardiff.
Yes, and, he's enjoying being back in Wales. He's enjoying playing for Cardiff and, he brings a wealth of experience. Certainly, parts of their game, both of them, are top drawer at the moment, goal kicking being one of them, so which is important in international rugby.
Just quickly on Jonah Holmes and Hallam Amos haven't been named. Liam, obviously, and Johnny McNichol have. First of all, the two, Hallam Amos and Jonah Holmes, who've probably been in quite good form, why haven't they made it? And also, how is Liam looking ahead of having his appendix removed?
Yeah, when you look at the position, the players you've named, they can all cover wing and fullback, and we think that Johnny McNichol's probably the form player at the moment out of those guys. Helen Amos is a separate issue. Helen and I have spoken earlier this week with his medical studies, what he's doing outside of rugby. At the moment, he's a very, very busy young man. He's got some decisions to make going forward. So the decision has been to leave him out of this series. So that one is on those grounds. So really it came down to a shootout with Owen Lane from our point of view. And we just think at the moment that when you look at the games, when we look at the stats, we look at the summer form, we just think that Owen is doing a little bit more around the park. And Jonah's not to say that he's not playing that well. It's more a case of he's got the nod on this occasion.
So with Hallam, is it a case of him having to decide whether he's going to do medicine full-time or be a full-time rugby player? What's the sort of issue he's got there?
Oh, that's for him to sort out. What he's actually called me to say, look, he's obviously just finished his studies. He knows what's around the corner in terms of decisions to be made. So he's really just going to focus on club rugby at the moment and then what's coming up in terms of his decisions to be made.
Final one on that. Presumably Josh Navidi is out for the autumn for you after his shoulder?
Yeah, before we go to Josh, obviously, you mentioned Liam Williams as well. So Liam, he's had the appendix removed. That was not the best of timing for anybody, least amount. Liam, who was very disappointed, but he is back. He is obviously being monitored. We won't rush him back until he's fully fit.
And then to Josh as well.
Yeah, look, really, really disappointing. The last time we had the luxury of playing Josh was in the Six Nations. We saw the impact that he made. He is a top-class international rugby player, covers the whole back row. So to lose somebody like him in that fashion, we just hope he makes a speedy recovery.
In your press conference quotes, Wayne, you alluded to the fact that maybe some of the players you picked haven't been in top form. Is that fair comment? And if so, how have they got the nod perhaps over players who perhaps are in better form?
We look to see who's in better form than who. But you just got to look back to last weekend. I don't think any of the clubs would have been happy with their form. Certainly you've just got to look and listen to players' post-match interviews. It's an early time in the season for us. Some rugby players aren't hitting their straps. There's no doubt about that. In some positions, we're in a position of saying, well, look, we're picking between these two or three players, and really we're not happy with the form of all of those players. So then we look back at the investment we've had in players. We look at their form in, say, summer series, whether that was good, bad, or indifferent, and also the successful squad that we had in the Six Nations and what part they played there.
Final one from me. Can you sum up the autumn challenge and the fact that you're playing New Zealand without your English-based players? Yeah,
I don't think the challenges in rugby get any bigger than that. But I just want to make the comment on there's a lot of talk around why we're playing them at that time, and it's it sort of lessens the occasion. The occasion, first and foremost, for these players and management is going to be huge. We've all missed playing in front of live crowds, and to have a sellout at the Principality, that's exciting for everybody that's going to be involved. To have the All Blacks, ranked in the top two teams in the world, and then Springboks a week later, the challenges don't get any bigger. So there's going to be massive learnings for players. And if you're a player, I guess you're looking at it and saying, there's a huge opportunity for me to perform. And if I do that on this stage against this opposition, then I put myself in good shape for selection further down the track. And, when you're just under 2 years out from a Rugby World Cup, the players are focused on coming into international rugby and performing and hoping that, they impress and stay on the side for the coming months. It is going to be a big task. We know that. 60-odd years of history would tell you that with everybody available at times. So, look, it's the challenges don't get any bigger, but the reason for having this game I wholeheartedly agree with. We need funding in the game for whatever reason. We're in the situation we're in, and without this funding, I think, it would be a lot tougher on clubs and players alike and the union to proceed the way we'd like to.
And over to me, Wayne, on that note as well. Hi, it's Beth, by the way. If you're going to win World Cups, as we've seen with lots of teams, you have to have the depth in your squad. And this game against New Zealand, perhaps not with some of your star players, will give those players coming up a chance to do that as well.
Yeah, original thoughts on this November. You're right. The original thoughts on this November series was that we wanted to tighten down on the players used and really drill down to sort of 40, 45 players from here on into the World Cup, or depending on injuries, obviously. But as we've seen with the All Black match and then with the injuries that we have had, which is unfortunate in the game that we get these injuries, we are going to look at a lot more players than we probably would have anticipated looking at. So it is a great opportunity for those players, and that's certainly the way that we're going to look at it.
Well, I can't believe it's a year since last autumn, which was very different for you and the team. But given that we're 2 years away from a World Cup, probably only 20-odd matches to go, how close are you to kind of getting the team that you want and the style that you want as well?
Well, I think on paper we're very close. The trick is now going to get them all fit and healthy at the same time. So, yeah, we're so long as that happens at the World Cup, I'll be really, really happy. But certainly you can't forecast what's going to happen with rugby players playing this contact sport. So, yeah, we sort of we know we've got a wish list of players, if you like, but those players need to maintain form closer to the World Cup and obviously be fit and available.
And just a note again about the crowds, because, I was there at the Six Nations. It's weird with, for players, for journalists, for anyone watching, but I think the fans have missed it more than anyone. So a note for them as well.
100%, out in the community now, people we bump into, they're just so excited. Yeah, they'd love to see the Six Nations champions, full squad playing the All Blacks. But I think everybody's excited and can't wait to get to the venue. It's the whole driving up Westgate Street in the bus. You've got to remember, players like a Callum Sheedy, for example, has played about 10 tests now, hasn't played in front of that crowd and having that experience. And the older players talk about it. And, I heard Jonathan Davies in an interview some time ago talking around, he's missing that and can't wait for the crowds to come back. So I think it's the same for everybody, players, management and supporters. And for that fact alone, I just can't wait for that day to come. And having crowds back is just going to be magnificent.
And last question from me, just a note on Thomas Young again. I mean, he's been in incredible form over in England. He was man of the match last week. And it does give you a different option, doesn't he, in that position, in terms of what he gives as a player?
Yeah, well, certainly we need experience. There's going to be a lot of youth in the squad as it is with some of the injuries. So we need some experience in the squad. And Alice Jenkins brings some experience. He's played against all the opponents that will be playing. So he brings that knowledge in with him. Thomas has played at a high level of rugby, as you say. He's a form player. So I think those two are welcome additions, and we'll just have to see how they all come in after a couple of or around of club games to go.
Cheers. Can't wait for the match. Cheers.
Thank you.
Hi, Wayne. There were reports overnight in England that Eddie Jones can pick players that are not double jabbed. I just want to know what the situation was with your squad. Is that the case? Are all the players double jabbed? What's the WRU's policy on it?
I haven't checked in the last 24 hours, but a short time ago we were right up there. I think there's only a couple of 2 or 3 players that haven't been double jabbed, and I think we're about one management person left to go. So we're in a pretty good space. Our testing regime doesn't change. We have been squeaky clean, touch wood, for the last couple of campaigns. And so it does look from the outside that COVID rules have been relaxed. But in terms of our rugby environment, once we come into camp on Sunday night, Monday, we're in a bubble as we were for the last 2 campaigns. So the players won't be going home. They'll be in for the full week. They get to go home for 24 hours after a test match, and they're back in for the full week again. So that'll happen for the 5 weeks. We aren't releasing players back to club rugby in the back end because those teams are in and around the community. But this virus is as strong as it ever was in terms of its numbers in the community. So, there's so much at risk in these games in terms of what's at stake in terms of the revenues. We don't have the luxury of a club team where you can put it off for a weekend a month or 2 later. So we will be in that strict bubble, even though the public will be doing what they're doing.
Just to clarify with those last few that haven't, is the plan for them to be double jabbed, or is that still up in the air at the minute?
The medical team take care of all of that, to be honest. I've been flat out on the selection.
Obviously, some more light being shed on Corey Hill's departure. Are you able to talk about why he was initially selected in the summer?
Yeah, well, he was initially selected in the summer on the basis that there was an inquiry being looked at. And I don't want to dwell on this one, but the immediate action that we took within the squad was remove him from leadership roles until we got to the bottom of what was happening. When he spoke with me, he was removed from camp immediately.
Just one more from myself. Obviously, you're talking about the back three options. It's fairly light in terms of the English-based players. Is it possible that Gareth Anscombe or Rhys Priestland could be considered as a full-back option for the New Zealand game?
We're aware that both of those players can do that. It's not our intention to do that.
Right, okay, cheers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Wayne. Just one from me. With the centres in particular, how glad are you to see Johnny Williams back, having played for the Scarlets on the weekend, and how possibly unlucky or how close was Scott Williams to get him back into the fold?
Yeah, those players were both obviously Johnny. We're pleased to have back. We had him in the autumn series. We had him in the Six Nations. Not only the games that he played, but in and around the training environment, he was excellent. So he comes in the knowledge that he's performed well at this level in our environment in recent times. So we're just pleased to see him back and injury-free, so he get another run out this weekend. Scott Williams has been a turnaround, hasn't it? He's had 2 years of being out in the wilderness, really, with a back injury and then other injuries that have sort of plagued him. So it's just good to see Scott back playing. I've spoken with Scott, been down to training. We're happy with his progress, and we'll be monitoring him. And, funny things can happen. We've still got a couple of rounds of club rugby, and we've also got 4 massive test matches. So those players are messages to keep working hard, because you never know what's around the corner.
Hi, Wayne. It's Will here, starting off the embargoed bit.